story time. Well, like most of you, I have also been watching the news. I saw hundreds and hundreds of Jet Airways employees. They were protesting in front of the State Bank of India office in Mumbai. They were holding placards, "Save Jet Airways, save Jet Airways, save Jet Airways. Oh, we have children. We purchased a home. We purchased a car. We have EMIs to pay. Save Jet Airways, save Jet Airways, save Jet Airways." So with that in mind, today I want to tell you the story of Leonard Euler. That's right, the mathematician from the 1740s, 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. Leonard Euler. Engineers on the group might remember something called Euler's theorems or Euler constant. So today, let me tell you the story of this mathematician. Leonard Euler was working at the Moscow University. He had a good job. He was a professor. He had a good teaching job. He enjoyed his job. He had a good wife. He had 5 children. He was also one of the court mathematicians at the Moscow Palace. He had designed a lovely system of fountains. He had made some new lever where if you just rotate it once, the fountain would be spurting out water for hours. 300 years ago, it was a miracle. He had designed some optical system of communication, and Russia was a good place to be. He was happy. One day, he received a letter from the Berlin University. King Frederick was the king of Germany at that time, and he received a great job offer from the Berlin University. And Leonard Euler was at a fork. Should he remain in Moscow? Should he go away to Berlin? Should he continue to live in Moscow where he is settled and there is nothing wrong per se? Or should he go to Berlin? Finally, he decided to resign his job at Moscow and move to Berlin. The reason? Better pay, better perks. Pay and perks. Perks, perks, perks. Berlin was offering him better pay and perks, perks, perks. Pay and perks. So Leonard Euler resigned his job at Moscow and moved to Berlin. Now everything was fine for a long time. For almost 2 decades, everything was fine. His pay and perks was better. So for 18 to 20 years, he was very happy. Acha kiya. I left that not very high paying job and I came here. Better pay, better perks. But after 18 to 20 years, 2 things happened. Number 1, Leonard Euler started going blind in his left eye. In fact, in all his later photos and paintings, you can see him going blind in one eye. Leonard Euler started going blind in his left eye. In the beginning, he tried to hide it, but he could not hide it for long. It did not reduce his capability in any way. It just slowed him down a little. What would earlier take 10 minutes would now take 15. But he had not become, useless or invalides. The second thing that happened was Voltaire. Yeah, that socialist communist Voltaire. He became a regular member at the Berlin Palace. And he became one of the best friends of King Frederick of Germany. And that's a big story by itself. There are lots of reasons and a lot of history. It's an entirely big story by itself. But Voltaire hated Leonard Euler. In fact, Voltaire has openly made fun of Leonard Euler umpteen times. And Voltaire somehow wanted Leonard Euler out of that Berlin Palace, the Berlin court. Added to this, Leonard Euler was becoming blind in one eye. So everything coupled, one fine day, out of the blue, just like that, the king told Leonard Euler that he had become Cyclops, the mythical one-eyed useless character in the Greek mythology. He said, you're blind in one eye, and I don't know how much efficient you are with only one eye working, and we can't have the dean of the mathematics of Berlin University being a blind man. So, Mr. Leonhard Euler, you are out of a job. So suddenly, the pay and the perks vanished, and Leonhard Euler found himself out of a job and blind, half blind. He had gotten used to some sort of a lifestyle. Jobless, he could no longer maintain that lifestyle. Jobless, he could no longer maintain the horse carriages and the maids and the big lawns that he had grown used to. And jobless, no other university in Germany was willing to employ him, because since he had been dismissed by King Frederick, nobody else was willing to employ him. So, in short, his life was really in the dark. Somebody conveyed this to Queen Catherine the Great of Russia. One of Leonhard Euler's students conveyed this to Queen Catherine of Russia. Those of you who remember the story of Denis Diderot may remember the photo of Queen Catherine. I had explained to you how Queen Catherine helped French writer Denis Diderot. Queen Catherine was a very generous, very broad-minded queen. She immediately sent word to Leonhard Euler. She said, you can come back to your old job at the Moscow University. It's okay if you're blind. We have thousands and thousands of employees here. It's okay. You can come back, and when your son grows up, we will provide him with a job too. You're welcome. You can come back to the University of Moscow, and you will be appointed as court mathematician of the Moscow Palace once again. Your old job is still open should you want it. So Leonhard Euler immediately rushed back to Moscow, went back to his old job, thanked Queen Catherine, and took up teaching at Moscow once again. Well, shortly after this, Leonhard Euler went completely blind. He lost sight in the other eye as well. He did not hide it this time. He himself went and told the queen, I have gone blind in both the eyes. She said, it's okay, it's okay. Continue with your job. This is Russia. You belong here. We are all yours. This is family. Continue with your job. I'm sure blindness will not hamper you in any way. So it proved to be right. In fact, it is said that Leonhard Euler's best mathematics came after he went blind in both the eyes. Even the famous book on algebra that is still in print and read by mathematicians the world over, this book was written after he went completely blind. Later in life, many people used to ask him, do you curse God? Are you angry with fate? Are you angry with destiny that you've gone blind in both the eyes? And Leonhard Euler used to always say, this blindness, this is okay. It's nothing. The other blindness that I had years ago, better perk, better pay, perks, better pay, better perks. You know, that blindness that made me leave Moscow and go to Berlin, from where I was eventually kicked out, that blindness is more dangerous than this actual blindness. This actual blindness is nothing. I am still working. That blindness, blinded with greed, better pay, better perks, that blindness is more dangerous. That's the story of Leonhard Euler, a man who cautioned us against resigning a good, satisfying job for better pay, better perks. That's the story of Leonhard Euler. Thank you.